नमस्ते नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वपत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Would somebody like to recollect what we discussed last time? Anybody remembers?
Is anyone saying? Is anybody speaking? Should I say, Prabhuji?
Yeah, it's no problem. Yes.
Yeah, so we discussed shloka 53, nature of fault finding. So this shloka speaks about nature of Durjana. They see only good qualities as faults. A person may have good qualities, but wicked people see that good qualities faults. They perceive gentle behavior, shy behavior as dull or weakness of character. They perceive a strict follower of rituals, vows as a proud pretender, an honest person as a hypocrite, a brave person as cruel, an introvert as a fool, a sweet talker as a bootlicker, as a influential person as a haughty, a bimani, an extrovert as an overly talkative, and a peaceful sage as an incompetent of a material progress. Name one good quality with these rascals. They have not maligned with their fault finding habit. So this is the mindset of such a people. Then yourself spoke about how we perform Krishna Bhakti for our own purification. But constructive criticism is good. But we should ignore people who bring our enthusiasm down. And then elaborately, Daksha's attitude towards Lord Shiva was described. And one of the main one, maybe you yourself said that how Lord Shiva is naked like a madman. He lives in crematorium, puts ashes on his body. But this should be considered as a pastime of Lord Shiva. It should be interpreted as his prema for the Lord. He makes crematorium as auspicious, and there is no more greater than Shiva auspiciousness. He accepts by his will the most ignorant. He gives them his mercy. Then how Daksha Prajapati curses Narad Muni, and he performed Grehastha ashram very properly, but he has this propensity of fault finding. This is known as sin of pride of righteousness. Then what Sati shares her thoughts to Daksha when she says she contrasts both Lord Shiva and Daksha. How saintly person like Lord Shiva, they see even faults as good quality, as they know eventually by performing bhakti they will rise to goodness. And Daksha, he just magnifies faults in others. This is what Sati says. And then yourself spoke about how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur speaks about sadhu, 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 tamas, sadhu, tama, sadhu, no, sorry, sadhutara, asadhutara, sadhutama, asadhutama, iti sadhu tama, and iti asadhu
Ati,
tama. And
ati
you describe,
sadhutama, ati asadhutama, ati.
ati, yes. Okay, and so do you describe elaborately each and everything with along with examples? Um, you even discussed about how about this Shakuntala and Dushyant episode also was included. How Prabhupada, when he was in Chennai, and some disciples were speaking about the devotees not chanting the mantras properly, and then how Prabhupada responded. And then 55 shloka number is, if someone has greed, what need is there to have other bad qualities, as greed gives rise to all bad qualities. Whatever pure fame is possessed by the famous, whatever praiseworthy qualities are found in virtuous, they are all destroyed by small amount of greed. And how beauty, exactly the same way as how beauty would be destroyed by a trace of leprosy. Then what is Pashunata? It gives rise to all papas. Then Papa, and then you spoke about 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Avayam, that not using bad words, perverse words against a person in his absence. This is Baldev Vidyabhushan. Apaya Shunam, that is, yeah, Sripad Ramanujacharya, he also says that refraining from speaking what causes damage to others. And someone is truthful, what is the need to perform tapasya? You spoke about how earth can tolerate anything, but he cannot tolerate, she cannot tolerate a liar. Then yourself spoke about need of a sacred place to the pure mind. Yourself spoke about Saubri Muni and Durvasa Muni's example. What is the need of relatives if there is civility? What better ornament than one's own fame? What value of wealth when there is learning? And where remains the fear of death after disgrace? So these are some points. Yeah, you also mentioned about how Vasudev spoke life for the sake of Krishna, and if 1,000 yagnas are on one side and Satya on one side, always the palda of the truth will be the highest. That'll be more bhari, more heavy. I haven't been able to write anything more now.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for recollecting. We'll discuss more shlokas today. We'll go to the 56th. Shashi Divasadur Dusaro Galita Yavana Kamini Saro Vigatavarijam Mukamanaksharam Swakritehe Prabhur Dhanaparayana Satata Durgada Sajjano Nripanganagatha Kalo Manasi Saptashalyani Me. So in this shloka, Bhartrhari is speaking about 7 things actually. Sapta is the 7. He is speaking about Sapta Shalyani. Shalyani means one of the meaning given is Kantaka. 7 thorns in my mind. He's saying that there are 7 Sapta Shalyani. Me means Mama. Mama Manasi. In my mind, there are seven thorns in my mind, or 7 things which give pain to my mind. 7 things actually prick my mind. When I see 7 things in this world, those things actually give so much a pain to my mind. They prick my mind. What are those 7 things? The first thing is that Shashi Divasa Dusaraha. Divasa means daytime. Dusara means what? Dusaraha means malinaha or kshina kantihi. The effulgence is actually diminished effulgence. So divasa dusara shashi. Shashi means Chandra. So Chandra is usually always compare it with something beautiful. People who love beauty, they always want to look at the Chandra, which is known for its beauty. But the same Chandra, in the daytime, its effulgence is completely diminished. Divase dusaraha. Divase dusaraha shashi. So those people who love beauty, who love to see the beautiful Chandra, but when they see the Chandra in the daytime, they uh, uh, they feel very bad because the Chandra's beauty is completely diminished. So Divasa Dusara Shashi. And then the next is the Galita Yavana Kamini. So Kamini is a woman. Galita Yavana. So Galita means Nashtam. Yavana means Tarunyam. A woman who has lost her youth or who's has lost her youthful beauty or who has lost her youth. So that is also something like somebody, some women who was very beautiful to look at previously. The same woman, after some years, after she has lost her youth, to see her, it may give pain to those people who appreciate beauty, or those people who are attached to that woman when she was in the youthful stage. Now her youth is lost, therefore they will, it pricks their mind. It will prick their mind. Oh, this person whom I was attached to when she was so youthful, now the same person has lost her beauty. And then the third thing is Saro Vigata Varijam. So Varijam refers to the basically the lotus. Saraha means the Sarovar, yeah, Talab. Vigata Varija Saraha, that means a lake which has lost the lotus flowers. So the beauty of the lake is actually when the lake is filled with the lotus flowers. The beauty of the moon is in the night time. The beauty of the woman is when she is youthful. The beauty of the lake is when the lake is filled with the lotus flowers. But when the lake has lost the lotus flowers, then that pricks one's mind, that gives pain to one's mind, that gives pain to those people who appreciate that beauty. And then fourth thing is that mukam anaksharam swakritehe. So swakritehe means one who is beautiful. Swa akritehe. Swakritehe means shobana akritihi. That person who is very beautiful. But mukam anaksharam, a beautiful person, but who is not learned. Anaksharam means akshara shunyam. That means vidya vihinam. So somebody may be very beautiful, having a physical beauty, but when that person is not learned, when a person is not knowledgeable, educated, that also gives a pain. That is also that gives pain, pinprick to the mind. There may be people like that actually. Nobody is very beautiful, but then not having knowledge or not having educated. Many of the Bollywood stars are like that actually. They may be beautiful, but they were knowledge-wise they may not be good. And then fifth thing is that Prabhur Dhanaparayanaha. Prabhur Dhanaparayanaha. Prabhu refers to a king. But what kind of a king? Dhanaparayanaha. One who is surrendered to wealth, or one who is greedy for wealth. One who is greedy for wealth. So the real beauty of a king is that when the king is very generous in giving charity. But instead of giving generous and charity, when the king becomes greedy for wealth, then that is something very painful to see. Especially we see nowadays there are so many people in the political field. There are many leaders. Sometimes they get elected with the purpose of earning money, actually, not for doing some social work. They then they actually disproportionately increase their wealth in a short time through so many scams and scandals. So the greedy king, it also gives a pinprick to the mind. And then sixth thing is that tatata durgataha sajjanaha. Sajjana, that means a good person, saintly person. Tatata durgataha, a saintly person who is always in difficulty. And that is also something very difficult to see. It's a pinprick to one's mind. Uh, in this regard, what we can see that I will complete the 7 list, and then I will give some examples. So, saintly person who is going through difficulty after difficulty, was always going through difficulty, that is also something painful. That's a pinprick to one's mind. And then 7th thing is that Nripanganagata Kalaha. So Nripa Anganaha. Nripa is the king. Or Nripa Angana. Angana means the interior palace of the king. So Kala means a wicked person. A wicked person who has entered the interior palace of the king. That also gives pain to the mind. Because a wicked person who has somehow maybe got job or who has been appointed as a trusted person in the interior affairs of the king, how much damage he can cause to the kingdom. A wicked person who becomes one of the inside man of the king, how much damage he can cause. So all these 7 things, Sapta Shalyani me. Sapta Shalyani me, when I see these 7 things, they give pain to my mind. Like that the poet is saying. So these 7 things are related to different aspects. Maybe the first thing, first 3 things are related to beauty. Somebody who appreciates beauty, for him to see the sun, Chandra in the daytime, it will prick his mind. Somebody who appreciates the beauty of a youthful lady, when he sees the same lady who has lost his youth, that may give pain to him. Somebody who appreciates the beauty of a nature in the form of a sarovar filled with the lotuses, when he sees the same sarovar without any lotuses, it will prick his mind. And then somebody who appreciates education, but when he sees a very beautiful person, but without any education, that will prick his mind. Oh, this person is so uneducated. He doesn't have even the basic knowledge. And then a greedy king. This is our general concern. A king, a person who is in a big position, greedy king or a chief minister or whichever person in the position, but if he is greedy for money, how much he will misuse the position instead of using the resources associated with the position for the welfare of the society. He will use it to increase his own bank balance. And then a saintly person, but always in difficulty. In fact, this particular feeling, the 6th one, was exhibited by the Bhishma Dev when he saw the Pandavas. So Bhishma Dev, when he saw when Pandavas came to meet Bhishma Dev, when Bhishma Dev was in the deathbed. That time, Bhishma Dev speaks this verse. Aho kashtam aho nyayam yadyuyam dharmanandanaha jivitum narhata klishtam vipradharma chutashraya. Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Yet you are protected by the Brahmanas, Krishna, and Dharma. Vipra Dharma Achyutashraya. So Bhishma Dev was feeling very bad that the Pandavas went through so many difficulties, one after another. Samstite Atirate Pandav Prita Bala Prajavaduhu Yushmat Krite Bahun Kleshan Prapta Tokavati Muhu. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, after the Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children. And thereafter she suffered greatly. And even when you are grown up, she suffered a great deal because of your actions. The Pandavas lost everything in the gambling match. Kunti's daughter-in-law was insulted in the open assembly. The Pandavas had to go to the forest. So Bhishma Dev is feeling very bad, remembering the sufferings of Kunti. Sarvam kalakritam manye bhavatam cha yada priyam sapalo yadvashe loko vayoriva ganavalihi. In my opinion, this is all due to the inevitable time under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. And then Bhishma Dev says that Yatra Dharma Suto Raja Gadapanir Vrikodaraha Krishnostri Gandivam Chapam Suhrut Krishnastapo Vipat. How wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. How can there be otherwise? How can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthir, the son of personified Dharma, and in the presence of Bhima, the great fighter with a club, and the presence of Arjuna, the great bowman, and above all, in the presence of Krishna, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. So Bhishma Dev was feeling very bad. The Pandavas had to go through so many difficulties after difficulties. And then the seventh one is that Nripanganagata Kalo Manasi. Somebody, a wicked person who was entered a very, who was occupied a very important position in the kingdom, or who has become a trustworthy person of a king. That is something. Are you able to see the screen actually?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So wicked person who was sent if he has become the trustworthy person of the king, and that also how much damage he can cause. So some years back, I think there was one vice president, I forget his name, during the Congress period. He was a Muslim actually. But the way he acted, he was a vice president, such an important position in the country, but he acted completely against the national interest. There is a detailed article I read. So sometimes we see people in high positions, but they are wicked, they are completely against the nation. And such people, when we see such people in those positions, it gives so much of pain to the mind. In this way, the Kavi is telling that these are the seven thorns to my mind. Mama Manasi, Shalyani. Shalyani means Kantaka. We'll go to the next shloka. So especially like we can say the main point of the shloka is the last one. The wicked person in the inside, with the inside portion of the, that is one of the main thing. But apart from that, other things are also mentioned. Even the sadhus always in difficulty. That's also something painful to the mind. So another thing, another way to look at the shloka is that how this world always has dualities. So normally we would want the Chandra, which is beautiful in the night. We would want the Chandra to also be beautiful, not to lose its effulgence even in the daytime. But the but the point is, the nature of the world is that there is a duality. The same thing which was beautiful in the night, it is not, it does not have the beauty in the daytime. A woman who is so beautiful in the youth, during the youth, but the same woman, she loses her beauty. The same woman maybe who was sought after when she was youthful, but then after some years, she that woman is no longer in the news only. No more in the news, no more in the movies. So we see how the nature of the world is filled with a duality. It humbles. And also similarly, sometimes a person will be very beautiful, but knowledge-wise is very completely illiterate. So this also shows that one may say that the world is imperfect, or God is imperfect. God is created in an imperfect way. But then that is the way the world is meant to be. That is the way the material world is meant to be. The material world is a place of duality. Somebody may be endowed with some particular aspect of opulence, but in another aspect, he doesn't have that opulence. Or somebody may have that opulence, but for how long? Only for a temporary period. We'll go to the next shloka. This is in Anushtup Chanda. न कश्चित् चण्डकोपाणाम् आत्मीयो नाम भूभुजाम् होतारमपि जुह्वाणम् स्पृष्टो दहति पावकः. So this is about actually an angry king. Kopa means krodha. Chanda kopa means tivra kopa, great anger. Chanda kopa means ugra kopa. So Chanda kopana bhubujam. Bhubujam refers to basically, it refers to a king. Bhubujam means Mahipatinam Ragyam, one who is the ruler of the earth. Bhubujam refers to ruler of the earth. The Chandakopanam Bhubujana Kashchit Atmiyo Nama Na Asti. For a king who is extremely angry, for him, there is nobody in this world whom he can call as relative. Atmiyaha means what? Atmiyaha means somebody, friend or a relative, well-wisher. Because a king who is always angry, like he'll be angry with everyone. He will be angry with everyone. So nobody will identify themselves as I am a well-wisher of king, I am a friend of the king, because the king will be angry with everyone. So Chandakopa, so such an angry king, who is extremely angry king, his anger gives trouble to every person in this world. So therefore, for him, there is no person who can be called as a relative or the friend of the king. So Atmiyaha Namaha Na Asi. Chandakopanam Bhubujam Kashchit Atmiyaha Namaha Na Asti. And then another example is given. Pavakaha Sprishtaha San Juhvanam Hotaram Api Dagati. Pavakaha means what? Pavaka refers to the fire. Pavaka refers to the fire, Agni. So Pavakaha Sprishtaha San. So suppose if a person touches the fire, if a person touches the fire, it will burn even the Hotara priest. Hotaram refers to a particular priest in the yajna. There are many types of priests. One place it is mentioned that there are totally 16 priests in a sacrifice. Brahma, Advaryu, Prasthata, Neshta, Unneta, Brahmano, Chamsi, Agnidraha, Pota, Udgata, Prastota, Pratiharta, Astu Brahmana, Hota, Maitra Varuna, Achavaka, and Gravastut. So out of these, 4 priests are the main priests. These priests are in charge of the Rik, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. The 4 main priests are Hota, Udgata, Advaryu, and Brahma. So other 12 priests are like the assistants. So Juhvana, in this particular verse, the Hota priest is mentioned. So the Hota priest, he only actually puts the Ahuti into the fire. So even although that person is actually putting Ahuti into the fire, but even if he touches the fire, the fire will only burn him. Fire will only burn him. Hotaram, Pavakaha Sprishtaha San, Juhvanam Hotaram api dahati. So Juhvanam means the Havana Sheelam, one who is actually putting the Ahuti into the fire. That it will burn even that Hotara priest who actually puts Ahuti into the fire. So this verse is actually warning about how the king should not be always angry. If he's always angry, everybody will be fearful of him. Nobody will even be a well-wisher of him. Yeah, anger is required for a king, but king should not be always extremely angry. So he should use the anger as an instrument actually. If we see certain verses from the 4th canto spoken by Swayambhu Manu to Dhruva Maharaj. Swayambhu Manu, when Dhruva Maharaj's brother Uttama was killed by one of the Yaksha, Dhruva Maharaj, he went to punish that Yaksha. But he got so much carried away by the anger that he ended up killing so many Yakshas more than required. So at that time, Swayambhu Manu comes and tells Dhruva, Samyacha rosham bhadram te pratipam shreyasam param shrutena bhuyasa rajan agadena yatamayam. As sickness is controlled by medicine, by constantly hearing instructions, good instructions, control anger, which is the great enemy of proper conduct. Bhadram te, all good fortune unto you. So Swayambhu Manu talks about 3 consequences of anger in 2 shlokas. The first consequence is that anger is the enemy of proper conduct. Or anger is the foremost enemy of spiritual realization. And the next point he says is that anger creates fear in others. When a person is extremely angry, other people only become fearful of him. But a devotee is supposed to be, is expected to be dear to everyone. So Swayambhu is telling to Dhruva Maharaj, you are actually, you are a devotee of Krishna, you are supposed to be dear to everyone, but because of your anger, you are only creating fear in others. And then, so anger is the obstacle for one who is desiring liberation. That's already I told you, it's the foremost enemy of spiritual realization. So anger is the first, the 3 consequences of anger is that is a great enemy of proper conduct, proper behavior. Second is that it creates fear in others. And third is that it is the obstacle for one who is desiring liberation. So Swayambhu Manu tells that yenopasrishtat purushal loka udvijate brisham Na buddhas tadvasham gached icchan abhayamatmanah. A person who is desiring liberation from the material world should not fall under the control of anger. Because when bewildered by anger, one becomes a source of dread for all others. One simply becomes a source of dread for all others. Another verse about the anger. The Devatas, when they glorify Naranarayana Rishi, they say that Shutrit Trikala Gunamaruta Jaihva Shaishnan Asmanapara Jaladin Atitirya Kechit Krodasya Yanti Vipalasya Vashampade Majjanti Dushchara Tapascha Vritotsrijanti. Devatas say that some people in this world, they perform severe penances to cross beyond our influence, which is like an immeasurable ocean with hunger, thirst, heat, cold rain brought about by the passing of time, sensuous wind, and the urges of the tongue and sex organs. Nonetheless, such persons fall under the control of useless anger and drown in the water of a cow's hoofprint. Thus, they destroy the benefit of their difficult austerities and can neither enjoy nor attain liberation. So, Devatas are saying that some people perform severe austerities and they cross beyond the ocean of hunger, thirst, heat, cold rain, etc. But after crossing the ocean, they drown in the puddle of useless anger. They drown in the puddle of a useless anger. And because of that anger, they lose the credit for all their tapasyas which they perform. Just like Vishwamitra lost all his credits of tapasya by becoming angry. So we see that. So this verse is about the anger. If the king is always angry, then nobody will come close to him. Nobody will be Atmiya. Nobody will be a well-wisher of him. Just like a fire can burn even the Hota priest, which is putting, who is putting the Ahuti into the fire. Next shloka. मौनोन्मूक प्रवचन पटुर वातुलो जल्पको वा दृष्टः पार्श्वे वसति च सदा दूरतश्चा प्रगल्भः क्षान्त्या बीरुर्यदि न सहते प्रायशो न विजात सेवा धर्म परमगहनो योगिनामप्यगम्यः. Very beautiful shloka about how difficult is to perform service to others, about seva dharma, servitude. How to perform service, it is very difficult. Sevaya ati dushkaratvam darshayati. The difficult nature of performing service is mentioned here. So many times when a person is performing service, the servant gets chastised for many reasons. Suppose Maunat Mukaha. Suppose if a servant remains quiet, the servant is chastised as, oh, this person is a dumb. The servant is chastised as a dumb person. Maunat Mukaha. Pravachana Patuhu. Suppose if the servant, Pravachana Patuhu means if he is expert in speaking, Patuhu means Nipuna. Pravachane means what? Samadhika Bhashane. That means a person is expert in speaking. Pravachane. Pravachane patu. Suppose if the servant is expert in speaking, the servant may be called as Vatulaha or Jalpakaha. Vatulaha, that means for this person is having the Vata Roga. Vatulaha means sometimes the people who have a imbalance of the Vata, जिनके Vata pravritti अधिक हो, those people keep speaking all the time. So then the servant who is expert in speaking, he may be chastised as, oh, this person is actually is having the Vatula Roga. Vata Roga. He's maybe there's an imbalance of Vata in his body. He keeps speaking all the time. Or Jalpaka. Well, Jalpaka means Vachalaha. That means he's a talkative person. Talkative person. Even Indra called Krishna as Vachala in the beginning of the Govardhan Leela. And Krishna convinced Nanda Maharaj not to perform the Indra Puja but start the Govardhan Puja. Indra chastised Krishna as Vachala. So if a servant is keeping quiet, he will be called as a dumb person. If he is expert in speaking, he may be called as so this person is infected with the Vata Roga or he is a talkative person. And then Sada Parshve Vasati. Suppose if a servant is always staying close to the master, he will be called as a Drishtaha. Drishtaha means this person is shameless. Drishtaha means nirlajjaha, shameless. Or Drishtaha can mean avinitaha. That means he is without humility. Avinitaha. That means sada paas रहने पर deed. Sada paas रहने पर deed. That means he will be looked as the man who stands close by is looked upon as forward. So this person is always, because he is always seeking some attention. Always seeking some attention, or he is a shameless person. He will be criticized like that. Or suppose if the servant is all the time staying little far, sada duratascha apragalbha. Apragalbha means he will be called as kachi buddhiwala. Apragalbha means it also means apraudaha. Apraudaha. Or the translation is that if he remains at a far distance, he is considered bashful. Apragalbha. He's too shy. He's too shy, therefore he's all the time staying far away. So in that sense, what we are saying is that sometimes the servant is chastised for many reasons. If the servant stays close, he'll be chastised. Sometimes the servant is staying far away, then also he'll be chastised. And then next is Shantya. Suppose if the servant is, if he's actually tolerating different difficulties, then he may be called as Biruhu. That means this person is fearful. He is too fearful. That is why he does not speak only. He is only tolerating. Yadi na sahate. Suppose if the servant does not tolerate, then he will be called as Prayashaha Nabijataha. Abhijataha means born in a good kula, good family. Nabhijataha means, oh, this person is born in an inferior family, or he is not born in a good dynasty. If the servant does not tolerate the difficulties, or maybe he has a low birth, that's why he is unable to tolerate the difficulties. He will be chastised like that. So what we are saying is that oftentimes a servant goes through so many difficulties. He is chastised for many reasons. He may be trying to serve in the best possible way. He may be trying to serve by keeping quiet. Or sometimes he may be trying to serve by speaking out. Sometimes he may be trying to serve by being close. or by being far. But still, he is chastised for many reasons. He is chastised in a different way. So therefore, Bhartrhari concludes, Ataha Parama Gahanaha Seva Dharmaha Yoginam api agamyaha asti. Parama Gahana means it is extremely difficult, extremely confidential. Parama Gahana means बड़ा कठिन होता है. सेवा धर्म बहुत ही परम गहन है. सेवा करना बहुत ही कठिन होता है. इसे योगी भी नहीं समझ पाते. योगिनाम अपि अगम्यः अस्ति. Even the yogis or yogi here means what? Yogi means atindriyartha darshinam traikalika jnanashalinam mahatmanam api. So yogi, to describe the word yogi, three things are mentioned. Atindriyartha darshina, somebody who is able to perceive things which cannot be perceived with our senses. The first quality. Second quality is Traikalika Jnana Shalina, one who can see the past, present, and future. And third quality, Mahatmanam, a great soul. But even the person, yogi, who is having all these three qualities, Yoginam api agamyaha. Agamyaha means even the yogis find it difficult to understand the seva dharma, or even the yogis find it difficult to perform the seva dharma. So that is the seva dharma is ati gudam. Seva dharma yogino api na jananti. Kimuta anya ityartha. Like for example, Ambarish Maharaj, he had such a genuine service attitude towards Durvasana. What a genuine service attitude he had. But even Durvasa Muni could not appreciate that service attitude of Ambarish Maharaj. Rather, he became so angry with Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj, after consulting with the Brahmanas, he just took little water to break his fast. But Durvasa Muni became so angry with Ambarish Maharaj, he did not appreciate that such a genuine service attitude of Ambarish Maharaj. So in this world also we see oftentimes the people who serve, even in the families, the mothers or the wives, they sincerely render so many service, but still oftentimes the service attitude, the service is sometimes not appreciated by others. We take it for granted. We take it for granted the service actually. The cooking or some different taking care of the house. And even different sometimes institutions also. There are people in the background, they keep performing such menial, simple services. Yesterday, I was speaking to a devotee in my local hometown. He was telling that he was working in a particular college actually in Tamil Nadu. And he was telling that it's a private college and how they have made a big business out of that whole educational college. And there are so many people working in the college, but there are so many people who have been working for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, but their salary is still 8,000, 10,000 only. They hardly get any increment. They get increment only for 200 rupees, 300 rupees, etc. And then there are other people in the management, they get a lot of increment. But these people who are really the lower rung, they hardly get increment. And the whole institution is run like a business institution. That's how the educational institution is run. And he said, but these people who are getting so low salary, and they are also not going because they feel that, oh, if I leave even this job, then maybe I may not get any job because they are so poor. and they are unable to oppose also, and they feel that they may not be able to find another means also. But they keep rendering simple services, and then they work extra hours also, but they hardly get increment. Uh, so sometimes the seva dharma, the same, and people serve good people. When a servant gets the um, fortune of serving a good master, then it's such a great fortune. But oftentimes, when people don't get a good master, then the service attitude is exploited by the bosses. The service attitude is exploited by the bosses, and their life becomes so miserable. They don't have any independence. And but suppose the same service attitude, suppose if they get the good master, then they will be greatly benefited. But definitely, seva dharma is something. It has to be greatly appreciated. It is very difficult to talk because so many difficulties come while performing service. You may be criticized in so many ways, even for a small mistake, you may be criticized. But still, when people continue to perform their service, tolerating those difficulties, that is a great thing. So Prabhupada says in one purport in third canto Bhagavatam, in the description of the universal form, the Shudras are considered to be the leg of the universal form. In that regard, he says that out of all the Varnas, the Shudras have the natural service attitude. And natural service attitude. And this service attitude is the ultimate perfection of the spiritual life. If only the same service attitude can be dovetailed towards Krishna and the Vaishnavas, then that is the perfection of the spiritual life, actually. So, in that sense, if you see Shudras, they have the from one point of view, they have the greatest opportunity to perfect their life. All they have to do is that they have to dovetail their service attitude towards Krishna and the Vaishnavas. So this particular shloka is actually telling that how the seva dharma is something parama gahana. It is something very difficult to understand. So one who holds silence is considered dumb. He who is clever in speech is marked a flatterer or a garrulous fellow. The man who stands close by is looked upon as forward, while he who remains at a distance is considered bashful. The fur-bearing is counted as a timid or a fearful person. The impetuous is generally viewed as a ill-bred. Inscrutable are the rules of conduct and service. They are beyond the comprehension even of contemplative saints. Yoginam api agamyam. Like that it is mentioned. So therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told that do not try to see Krishna, but try to serve Krishna in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. And this particular statement is exemplified by Shrutadev and Bahulashva. Shrutadev and Bahulashva, they were devotees in Mithila. They had deities of Krishna, but they were present when Krishna was personally present in this world. But Shrutadev was so dedicated to serving the deity of Krishna, because of that he could not leave Mithila to go and take personal darshan of Krishna. But because he served the deity of Krishna so faithfully, so Krishna went all the way from Dwaraka to Mithila to see Shrutadev and Bahulashva. So therefore, Seva Dharma is beyond the comprehension of even of the contemplative saints. Hare Krishna. So we saw 3 shlokas today. First shloka is about the 7 taunts which prick one's mind. Second shloka is about how when the king is extremely angry all the time, then everyone is always fearful to him. Nobody considers the king as a well-wisher, as a friend. And the third shloka is about the seva dharma, how it is so difficult. Hare Krishna. Anybody would like to share anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Dandavat Pranam. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, regarding this Seva Dharma, I have heard that Lakshmana also was doing so much service towards Lord Ram, but he also had to hear the harsh words sometimes.
Hmm.
So how this is so difficult? And regarding that master does not appreciating servants, so can we take the example of Maharaj Rahugana also, that
Yes.
how he was not able to, so
Hmm.
that these two things came in my mind.
Yes. Yes, correct. Yeah, we can take this. Yeah. Anybody else wants to share anything? Many of you will have actually personal realization of Seva Dharma, serving in your own life, different capacities. Hare Krishna. So if there are no more questions or comments, then we will end here.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hari.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.